Welcome back to the Kyle Olson Show. President Trump gave an absolutely fantastic speech at Mount Rushmore for Independence Day. There were many poignant moments, and here's one.
The violent mayhem we have seen in the streets and cities that are run by liberal Democrats in every case is the predictable result of years of extreme indoctrination and bias in education, journalism, and other cultural institutions. Against every law of society and nature, our children are taught in school to hate their own country and to believe that the men and women who built it were not heroes, but that were villains. The radical view of American history is a web of lies. All perspective is removed. Every virtue is obscured. Every motive is twisted. Every fact is distorted. And every flaw is magnified until the history is purged and the record is disfigured beyond all recognition. This movement is openly attacking the legacies of every person on Mount Rushmore. They defile the memory of Washington, Jefferson, Lincoln, and Roosevelt. Today, we will set history and history's records straight.
Have you ever heard a president speak so directly or eloquently about the indoctrination centers our schools have become? Campus Reform, which is a fantastic website, went out and talked to young people before the 4th of July. You might have seen these, a lot of different organizations do these. It might be kind of hard to understand on the radio because there's several different voices, and they use a lot of jump cuts. But listen to this male reporter speaking to two women who claim to be social studies teachers.
So I was a 7th grade civics teacher, government teacher, and she is an elementary school teacher.
What year did we get our independence?
17-something.
We're teachers. I actually don't teach what's in our curriculum. I'm teaching children social studies that's not in our curriculum. I'm teaching them things about how to be an anti-racist. I taught them about protesting. I taught them about Black Lives Matter. I taught them about Black Lives Matter.
In 2012, I was on Fox News a lot talking about school issues, and I'll never forget this video we discussed of a high schooler talking to his classmates about simple things, Civics 101, that kids should know about their country.
How many stars are on the flag?
51.
51? Why is that?
51 states.
52. Why? There's one for every 52 states. 51 states.
And how many stars are on the flag?
51.
51? No, 50.
52.
52. 53, sorry.
50.
50. 50.
Why is that?
Because there's 50 states, 48 mainland and 2 that are outside. One that is connected to Canada named Alaska and one out in the sea named Hawaii.
This video was produced in 2012. Barack Obama and Joe Biden had been in office for over 4 years at this point. Listen to this question.
Do you know the Vice President of the United States? Definitely not.
George Bush.
George Bush is the vice president?
The bald guy. He was going to run for it, and he has Clinton, right? Bill
Clinton, the vice president, Bill Clinton.
Yeah, Bill Clinton.
Yes, you did. Correcto. Sarah Palin?
Yeah, I don't think that's right either. I don't think it is either.
I don't know who it is. It's somebody... Bin Laden.
Joe Biden.
Joe Biden.
Joe Biden! Joe Biden! Is that right? Joe Biden.
Why does this happen? Why does this happen? Well, my next guest, who will be in the next segment, Colin Medine, will shed some light on that. But here's a series of statistics and studies that I would like to share with you that is disturbing and should be completely unacceptable. In January 2016, the American Council of Trustees and Alumni released a report called A Crisis in Civic Education. Here's some of their top-line findings. Only 20.6% of respondents, these are college graduates, only 20.6% of respondents could identify James Madison as the father of the Constitution. I actually think that number is probably too high, but it is what they report. More than 60% thought the answer was Thomas Jefferson, despite the fact that Jefferson, as U.S. ambassador to France, was not present during the Constitutional Convention. College graduates performed a little better. Only 28.4% named Madison, while 59.2% chose Jefferson. How do Americans amend the Constitution? More than half of college graduates didn't know. Almost 60% of college graduates failed to identify correctly a requirement for ratifying a constitutional amendment. Almost 40% of college graduates didn't know that Congress has the power to declare war. Well, I mean, first of all, that's probably not that surprising. One, because schools aren't teaching it, but two, when was the last war that was actually declared by Congress? And what military action was just taken arbitrarily by a president of either party? College graduates were even confused about the term lengths of members of Congress. Almost half could not recognize that senators are elected to 6-year terms and representatives are elected to 2-year terms. Less than half of college graduates knew that presidential impeachments are tried before the U.S. Senate. You know, that is so true. With the impeachment of President Trump, how many news stories did you see or inaccurate statements did you see on Facebook and social media where because the House of Representatives voted to impeach him, people thought he was out of office? They don't understand the process. And perhaps the most shocking statistic, 9.6% of college graduates marked that Judge Judy was on the Supreme Court. What else do we need to say? Breitbart, and I'll talk about this with Colin shortly, Breitbart reported that the Young America's Foundation produced a survey called Youth Patriotism Index that surveyed 800 current college students and 800 current high school students. And they found while 70% of high schoolers hold a favorable view of American history, less than half of college students feel the same way. 66% of high school students believe America is exceptional compared to 47% of college students. 55% of high school students believe America is a good example for other countries compared to 37% of college students. 70% of high school students hold a favorable view of American history compared to 44% of college students. 63% of high school students report feeling proud of America compared to just 40% of college students. Most of these are 20 percentage point drops from going to high school to college. What is happening in our oftentimes taxpayer-funded public government K-12 and university systems? Well, I think President Trump nailed it in his speech at Mount Rushmore, which really riled up a whole lot of people, including Randy Weingarten at the American Federation of Teachers and others. They don't like the truth being told. But we have major problems within our education system that have been going on for decades. Grandparents, especially. The school system that you went to does not exist anymore. Your grandkids are being taught very different things. And I strongly encourage you to find out what your kids are learning. And if it's against America, if it's multiculturalism, you have to do something about it. Coming up next, my Breitbart colleague, Colin Medine. This is the Kyle Olson Show.